Hi everyone, we're going to talk about email templates. We are going to talk about merge fields, smart blocks, and smart groups. So I'm going to dissect how I use these in my business, and hopefully you can pick up some tips and tricks to make it a little bit easier to set up the system for yourself. So let's start out in an email template and just kind of go over the basics here. So this is a buyer accepted offer email. I'm going to be sending this to the buyer. So in the to category, I have the buyer. And then if I go over to my CC category, I'm going to have CC on all buyer emails. So this is helpful for if a mother's helping a son buy a house and she wants to be copied on every single email, but she's not on the contract, so she's not technically a buyer. We would put her in the CC on all buyer emails category. Same thing if the whole family wanted to be on there. Honestly, if it was a one buyer and it was the son, but the grandpa and the grandma and the mother and the father and the brother all wanted to be on there, it doesn't matter. You can add them all to the contacts tab, and then you can assign them this contact role. Now, when you're setting up your contact roles, that's over in the hammer icon under filters, and you're able to set up whatever contacts that you may, any contact roles that you may have appear in your transactions, whether that's home inspector recommended by the agent. So two different people. Obviously, the home inspector is one person that they actually choose. The home inspector that's recommended, or maybe three of them are recommended by the agent. Those can come into your opening emails to suggest. And then once an inspector is chosen, then that person would go into the actual inspector contact role. That person would get put into the requested and confirmed emails dealing with the inspection. So you can see how you can get a little bit creative with these contact roles to make it easier on yourself. Another one that we put in here is CC on all buyer side transaction emails. This is more for training. If you have a new agent, a new TC, you want them to see every single email that goes out during a transaction to teach them the process, you can easily pop them in here and they're going to get a copy of every single transaction email. Now, that being said, every email that you set up, you're going to have to make sure this box is checked so that if whatever this email is, this person gets a copy of it. So if this is to buyer, CC on all buyer emails, over here you'd see that we have BCC on all buyer emails as well. And then we have BCC on all buyer side transaction emails. So hopefully that's clear. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to support and we can go more into strategy on the contact roles. Plus we have a video on contact roles as well. Okay. Accepted offer, I put the contract title in. The contract title is the full address, including city, state, zip. If you just want the first part of the address, the number, the street name, you can use, I believe it's property address is the merge field. Okay, in the actual email here, you notice I don't have hi buyer, seller, escrow officer, lender. I don't have any of that high stuff. The only reason I don't do it is just because of these special conditions that come up where one of them may not be true. I don't want to have to create a bunch of smart blocks for that, so I just start off the email without the niceties, and it's a lot more flexible for however the transaction's set up or any special conditions that may appear. So congratulations, the contract was accepted by all parties on the delivery date. The delivery date in Arizona holds over the signing date. So down here I have if the delivery date is not equal to the contract date, which would be the signing date, then I want to put a little paragraph in here for any new agent or agents that don't understand our customary tendencies in Arizona for if the contract was signed on Tuesday, they delivered it on Thursday. Thursday is actually the date that's going to hold. So I want to make sure that's up front, clear to everyone involved in the transaction so that halfway through we don't have an argument about the actual date that held. Okay, here's just some introductions. Hi, I'm the buyer agent, blah, blah, blah. In here, I do have a smart block. This smart block right here is for a co-agent. So if there is a buyer co-agent, it will come in and it will be a space, the words and, a space, and then the co-buyer agent full name. So this would say I'm the transaction coordinator for John agent and Joan agent if there is a co-buyer agent. If the co-buyer agent doesn't exist, it's just going to not even show this, and it's going to pull that period back to the end of John agent. So everything's grammatically correct. I also have a couple more smart blocks similar to that and lender. So if this isn't a cash deal, I'll say we send all the fully signed documents to your escrow officer and lender. Same premise as the one up here with the co-buyer agent. Now you don't have to do this. You could put both agents under the buyer agent. You could just have two of them and it would say I'm the transaction coordinator for John Smith and Jane Smith. I just decided to do a smart block instead of putting both of them under the buyer agent name just to distinguish. Okay. Then I come down here a little bit more, and this is kind of where the magic happens, where you can get really creative with smart blocks. these are some things that may or may not come in. So if the earnest money was already deposited, we already have the receipt, then this is not going to come in. But if we don't have that receipt yet and the earnest money hasn't been arranged, then we're going to go ahead and stick in a paragraph about how to get this over to the escrow agent. So, hey, you can wire it, they can come pick it up with a courier, or you can drop it off at the office. Same thing here, order the inspection. On the intake form, you could ask the agent, hey, has the inspection been scheduled already? If not, then you're going to put in all your, hey, here's our preferred inspector, here's what we recommend. You put in those little tips and tricks for the buyer so that they have an easy process here. But if the inspection's already been scheduled, you don't need that. So that will be one of the conditions of the smart block for this to come in or stay out. So I'll go into a little bit more detail when we get over to smart blocks. Okay, another smart block here, contact your lender. This is just letting them know they have to have that loan application done in the first 3 days per our contract. We have a little paragraph here about getting homeowners insurance. Now this comes in every single time because we always recommend that they do it during the inspection period in case they're in a flood zone. They find out it's a $4,000 a year insurance fee that they can't afford. They can get out of the contract during the inspection period. And then we have this smart block for homeowners insurance agent who's recommended. So if you have a deal with a homeowners insurance agent that you want to recommend, you can automatically pop those in. If you're working with 500 different agents and they all have different homeowners insurance agent, that's fine. As long as they put it under whatever smart block you deem necessary. So in our case, that's the homeowners insurance agent recommendation. As long as that contact rolls on it, it's going to pull that person in here. So if you're working with 500 different agents, they have 500 different homeowners insurance agents, it doesn't matter. As long as that contact roll is correct, it's going to pull the correct person in. You don't have to create individual email templates for every single agent you're working with. And I would highly suggest that you do not do that. It becomes a cluster in the system. Okay, so I will go into more detail on these when we get to the other tabs, but let me finish out with the emails so you have a full understanding. Okay, down here are file roles. File roles are also found in the hammer icon under file roles. You are going to put all your documents that may come in. So if you're in California, car forms. If you're in other states, you may be working in zip form, transaction desk, you name it. There's a million of them. Skyslope forms. So anyway, in here, what I do to make it a little bit easier is I also use BS for buyer signed, SS for seller signed, FE for fully executed, AS for agent signed, LS for lender signed. And I go through all my documents and I create these. So I'll create purchase contract, BS, purchase contract, SS, purchase contract, FE for fully executed. That way I know which document I'm attaching to this email. So these are possible things that may be attached. All these things are not going to be attached because they don't exist in every transaction. But what I did is I came in here and I said, what could be attached to this first email? So there's a million different scenarios that could come up, right? You may have a HOA. You may have, well, we have in Arizona an additional clause addendum. This may be for like a 1031 exchange or a cash deal, or a bunch of different stuff is included in our additional clause addendum. But you may have a counteroffer number 1. You may have a counteroffer number 2. So I want to plan for worst case scenario. 99.6% of our contracts that we deal with on my team have 4 or less counteroffers. That's why I have 4 counteroffers in here. If there's a 5th one, no big deal. They can just add it here, but that just typically doesn't happen. So down here, if there's lead-based paint, it comes in. If there's an HOA, it comes in. Now, if these documents exist and you do need to attach that file roll to that document to get the system to know that that's what this document is, then it will say, hey, I'm sending out this email. Let's go look for these file rolls over in the Documents tab. If they exist, it's going to pull all these documents over to the email and automatically attach your files. Huge time saver. If you are not using file rolls, you need to strongly consider using file rolls. This will save you a ton of time. Same with smart blocks, same with contact rolls. Okay, so now we got the basics on an email. So let's jump over, let's see what else I got in here. Okay, this is just a different email to the escrow officer. It has all these smart blocks. We can talk about these later. We have some smart blocks that are special conditions. So is it a 1031 exchange? Is it FERPTA? Does it have solar? Does it have a well? Does it have septic? All these things that could possibly come up. We have a smart block group, which I'm going to go into teaching you how to do. That group is going to be a combination of other smart blocks saying, so one smart block may be septic information. If septic is checked yes in the intake form or by the transaction coordinator, then it's going to pull over a sentence that says, hey, escrow officer, there's septic on this property. When you order the transfer, please let us know. Let us know how much it is, all the other things that you need to know about septic. If there's a well, hey, let us know when you order the well transfer. Let us know how much it is, whatever goes along with that. So you can have, I'm not going to get too much into this because it'll make more sense once we go over there. Same thing though, I'm utilizing smart blocks and smart block groups to make my life easier. Here's another one, all the parties involved. So this is going to list buyer information, seller information, escrow officer information, lender information, whoever is involved in the transaction. If they exist, it's going to pop in here and it's going to loop through all the contacts. So if you have 16 buyers, 1 escrow agent, and 2 lenders, all those people would be right in a line here just by putting this one line, one smart block group in. Okay, I know that's confusing, and once we get over to the smart blocks, I will show you how that's done. Okay, whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so let's come over here. Let's talk about merge fields real quick. Merge fields, just so you guys know, under the utilities, there's a thing called a contact loop, which I'm going to go into, but I just want to point out where it is under the utilities. And this is a blank line. If you want a blank line to appear in your smart blocks, you're going to have to put this BR tag in there. All you have to do is click on it. It's going to copy it, and then you just paste it right in your email or your smart block, wherever you're copying these things to. Here's the property email address that they can submit to. The contact loop is really cool, which I'm going to show you here in a second. You also have, while I'm here, I'll just mention this. This is your information here. So if you need to pop in your information, you can use this. If you put yourself in the transaction as buyer transaction coordinator, seller transaction coordinator, you can also use those contact roles to get your information in there as well. And that's what I do on my team, but we did add this for people that do not add themselves to the transaction. Okay. Smart blocks you can copy and paste into your emails. But mainly I wanted to point out that this information is here, and I will be going into this here shortly. Okay, now we're going to get into smart blocks. You saw some of the smart blocks that were in my accepted offer buyer email, my accepted offer escrow agent email. So let's dive in here. Okay, the first one that you saw was deposit your earnest money. This may or may not come in, and let me show you how this works. Let me go ahead and click on this. It's going to open up. If the earnest money received is still blank. If I have it and it's not blank, then I know I don't need to include this information because there's no reason to send the earnest money over if we already have the receipt. So this is my condition. You can have many conditions here, but in this case, I only needed one. And this is a bullet point if you remember. So if you bounce back over to my emails, here, sorry about that. Here you go. So smart block, accepted offer, deposit your earnest money. So this is all going to come in under number 1. So it doesn't have to be just a couple words like I had up here with and lender. It doesn't have to be just a sentence like I showed you on some of the other ones like septic and well. This could be a full email, a full paragraph. It could be additional bullet points. It can be whatever you want. So you can be super creative with these. So let me give you the example. Number 1, please deposit your earnest money with Fidelity Title. Smart block, earnest money due date. If there is a earnest money due date in our contract, which typically we don't, it just says immediately, but sometimes people will write one in. We have a smart block just in case they write one in and this says the earnest money is due on escrow money due date. We have the escrow agent information here, which I'm going to show you more in depth here in a minute. This is going to bring in the full information for the escrow agent that has been assigned to this transaction. Ways to get earnest money or earnest deposit to title. You can drop it off, you can wire it, and you can, escrow agent full name can arrange for a courier. So this is only coming in if I don't have the receipt already. Now you may want to create a field. If I had to do this over again, and I think in one of my other accounts I did this, you can create a field called has earnest money been arranged, yes or no, and then as long as it's no, go ahead and add this. If it's yes, sometimes the escrow agent will call you and say, hey, just talk to your buyers. They're dropping it off today at 4 o'clock. Just wanted to let you know. In that case, you may not have the receipt yet, but you do have confirmation that it's going to be there by 4 o'clock. So you may want to turn it to yes, and that field might be called has earnest money been arranged or something to that effect. You can utilize fields to yes or no, in progress, completed, not completed, things like that to trigger this information coming in and out of emails. So okay, that's example number 1. Let me give you a couple more examples just so you know what's going on here. And I apologize, when I am on recording, it takes a little while for these things to click over. So, okay, contact your lender, that's one of them. Oh, here's the and buyer co-agent. Let me just show you that real quick. If there's a co-buyer agent, then we're going to add in, and you can see there's a space here. If you can see that, you can see my cursor bouncing back and forth, but there is a space here because We want to butt those two smart blocks right up against each other just in case this doesn't exist, so that the period at the end of the sentence will come all the way back to here, not here. So hopefully that makes sense if that exists. Same thing with and lender. I won't click into that one, but it's the same premise. It just says it's delivered all the documents to the escrow officer and lender, and that's what we call accepted offer and lender. Okay. Let's bounce down here to, we got that, let me see. Here's the order of inspection. So this was number 2 on our list in that email, if you remember. You can bounce back there if you need to go look. This would be number 2. Order your home inspection and any other inspections. This is not required, but we highly recommend it. You have a 10-day inspection period, so it'll pop the 10 in there. This is just a merge field. Your inspection period ends on, it's going to have that date that it ends on. How that's calculated in my system is acceptance date plus inspection period length, maybe it's 10 days. It's on the 1st, plus 10 days, it'll pop that date in here automatically. Okay, then we have a smart block for the home inspector, agent recommended. So whoever the agent's recommending, and they bring that in through their form, or they let you know and you put it in there, that home inspector's information is going to be right here. Now, if they bring in 3 people, all 3 will be listed. So you don't have to worry about that. You can have more than one person in that contact role. Okay, and then we have a little, hey, we'll help you if you need it. And here's just some other nonsense information. So if inspection period length is greater than 0, and if the waived inspection period was equal to no, then this is going to come in. So you can see how these conditions will affect what's coming in and out of these emails. If the inspection period length is 0, that means we waived it. We're not going to send out a bunch of information about scheduling the home inspector. If they still want an inspection, even though it's not contingent, they can contact us at that point. Okay. So you kind of get the idea on the smart box. Now let me go into the informational pieces. So buyer information, seller information, escrow officer information. So if I type in information, oops. Okay, so you see all these. So I have what we call contact loops. That's what I showed you over in the merge fields. So when you come into the buyer information and some of these, yeah, okay, here we go. So buyer. It doesn't matter if there's 1 buyer or 16 buyers. What it's going to do is loop through, and that's why we call it a contact loop, because it's going to loop through these merge fields, and then it's going to go to the next buyer, and it's going to loop through those again. It's going to go to the 3rd buyer and loop through those again. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 16. They're all coming in correctly. So you have to copy your contact loop, which is going to be start contact, end contact. You're going to put these merge fields, whatever you want to show up. You can put anything you want in here. So buyer full name, email, phone, you may have address, you may have a ton of other stuff, but this is what we have in ours. And then we have that BR. That BR is a break. So this is going to cause it to have a blank line before it goes to the 2nd buyer and puts their information in. We don't want everything all jammed up with no spaces in here. So I'm going to put a space here with the BR. And you can do this with home inspectors, appraisers, whoever you want. I have a smart block for each individual contact, and then the contact loop for it, so everything will come in nice into the email. Okay, let's talk about one more type here. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I want to touch on before that. No, I think that's good for there. Okay, we're going to come over to, and actually I'll just kind of scroll through here and just show you some of these just in case you want to get some ideas of what you can use smart blocks for. That should give you enough. Okay. This means this is an inline smart block. That means that it's coming in on the same line. If you do not have this checked, it's going to take this smart block and pull it down to the next available line. So if it's something that's coming in a sentence like that, and co-buyer agent full name, or and lender, I want that to be in the same sentence as where that smart block is located. Now there's other ones like this contact your lender, that's going to be on its own line. So that's why this is off. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on here is the smart block groups. Now these are a little complex, so I hope I can explain these well for you. Where you're going to use these is a list of all the parties involved. You saw in my escrow email, and let me actually just pop back over there so you can see here. Down at the bottom I have this smart block group, and this is for the accepted offer, escrow agent, list of all the parties involved. So this is going to be the buyer, the seller, whoever you want to tell the escrow agents involved in this transaction. You can put all these people in a smart block group. Okay, smart block group. That's here. You can go back to the blocks. When you're in the blocks, this will say edit groups, and then you can bounce over to your groups. So if I come in here and look at my all parties involved, I can put smart blocks for each of these people. So you saw my buyer information smart block. That was the loop that we had in there. Now in that smart block, and I don't think that I actually showed you that, but let me go down to my buyer information. One thing I forgot to show you while we were over here was the condition. If buyer exists. If buyer doesn't exist, it's not coming in. If the buyer exists, it's going to grab this information for all your buyers. That makes more sense over here. Now, I don't have a condition because I know at least one of these people is going to be in this email. I don't have to worry about this coming in because I'm always going to have a buyer. I'm always going to have a seller. I'm always going to, well, not always have a lender, but you get the picture. There's always going to be at least one contact that you're sending to your escrow officer or your attorney or whatever kind of state you're in. So I don't need a condition on this one. I always want this to come in, but what I don't want is all these people to come in because some of them may not exist. So that's where the individual smart blocks come in. The individual smart blocks are going to say, hey, if there's a listing transaction coordinator existing in the property, bring this information in. If there's a listing co-agent, bring this in. You get the point. If these exist, bring them in. If they don't exist, don't bring them in. This is a really easy, concise way of getting multiple contacts in by just adding one line to the email. So hopefully you understood that. Now let's go over one more. I have a special conditions one. This is going to the escrow agent too, and I want to let the escrow agent know if there's septic, if there's well, if there's all these things. So I have a special field here. Did you mark any of the special conditions above? This is because I have questions in my fields. I have like an agent question list, and it's like HOA, water well, septic, lease solar, own solar, short sale. You can read through these. If these exist, the agent's checking yes on them. So they have radio buttons on the fields, and it'll say yes and no. They can select yes if they have it, no if they don't. So each one of these individual smart blocks is going to be similar to the contacts, where it's going to say, is there a well? Well is equal to yes. If that's true, it's going to pull in the information. This sentence may say something like, there's a domestic water well present on this property. Let us know when you order the transfer. Septic. There's a septic on this property. Let us know when you order the transfer. This may say, hey, there's an HOA on the property. Please send us the HOA demand letter once you receive it from the HOA. So you can put a different kind of notification for the escrow agent in each of these depending on what it is. So pre-foreclosure might be a little bit longer. You may have more information in something like that. FERPTA, you may have a bigger paragraph in there, but HOA just maybe one little sentence or one little line. So you kind of get the picture. So this is coming in if this is true. Were any of the special additions above or special conditions above checked yes? That's because I have a list of 15 questions that are yes and no. So if any of them were yes, then I want this paragraph to come in, because I don't want this to come in if they're all no. I don't want this just sitting in my email. This home has the following special conditions, nothing. It's just going to confuse the heck out of everyone. So that's why this has a condition. If this is yes, go ahead and bring any of these in. So I know at least one of them is yes. So then it's going to go down through and say, is this yes? Bring in that sentence. Is this yes? Bring in that sentence. And it's going to go all the way down my list without me having to do anything. You can see this is actually a little bit longer. And then I have a break in here just in case there's anything below it. So hopefully you get the idea. Let me just bounce back over real quick and just look at let's look at the HOA one. And so you just have an example of one of those ones that is in that smart block group. So let's look at HOA. And we're going to get down to this home has an HOA to the escrow agent. So here is my smart block. This home has an HOA. Please provide us with the HOA demand once received. The only way this is coming in is if homeowners association dash HOA is equal to yes. And so over in my fields, I would have that as a question. I can add that field to my intake form. Is there an HOA? Either the agent can check it, or you can put it on the TC approval side, and the TC can actually go and say yes or no on the back end instead of on the front end. Either way works. Preference just depends on if you're going to have your agents doing intake forms. If you're not, however you have it set up, This will work. You're just going to have to think through the process and make sure you have everything correct. So hopefully that was super helpful. If it wasn't, give me a call, get on my calendar, get on the support calendar. We will do a one-on-one with you to try to explain this, go over strategy, make sure that you guys can get these set up correctly, because this is a huge time saver. Remember smart blocks. Please remember smart groups. Smart groups are going to save you from putting 19 to 100 smart blocks in your email. You can just tackle that with one smart group in a lot of cases. So reach out to us if you need it. That's what we're here for. Hopefully this was super helpful. And yeah, talk to you soon, guys. Have a great day.